Hello, my name is Gabriel Guijarro,
And I'm his teammate Isaac Smith. We are working on the project ComboCounter Heavy Bag version 2.0.
and this is our user guide. So once you run the program, it's gonna prompt you for your username and password. Once you put those in, you just click login. It's gonna take you to the main page. In the main page, you're gonna have an option to choose on all the modes that we added to the program. So now we're gonna go now one by one explaining how they work. For
Starting
example,
with
the
combo score.
combo score. This is a simple one. It's just gonna every time you if you had the bag and you punch it, it's just gonna show you the force at the time interval between the punches. As for right now, we have just a simple array, just running numbers in there showing how it's supposed to look like if you were actually hitting the bag. And at the end, when you're done hitting the bag, it's gonna just ring a bell and show you the final score and time. Like for example. And then if you click reset, it's gonna take you back to the normal page. Then for the multiplayer in this one, it's gonna look the same, just with two players, guess one and guess two, where they could uh, compete against each other.
So moving on from there, move to the targeted total of force. Basically, what happens here is the force accrued that will additively go up from the amount of hits that you inflict on the heavy bag. Which will go up to whatever the force goal is. You can set it to go higher or lower with the plus and minus icons. The current time will just show how long it takes for you to get to that certain amount of time. So if we hit the start button, again, the sensor is not working currently, so we just have a additive algorithm that counts upward every second, but we have it set so that once the force accrued equals the force goal, that the text will turn green, so you have a visual element to it, and there will be a sound cue so that you know that you are finished. And then you can look at your time and work on seeing if you can get that certain force goal in a lower amount of time or more. So moving on from there, you can go to the two-player version where the guest one, he would start first, showing how much time would take him to reach the horse goal. Then he would stop. Guest two would do the same thing, and they could compare, see who was able to get to the first goal of 15,000 in this case in less time.
Now for the targeted total of time, it's a pretty simple one. You're just gonna have the time that you want to be punching the bag. For example, if you put 30 seconds, you want to know how much force you did on those 30 seconds. So if you click, you'll be punching the bag during those 30 seconds, and then the force accrued will be the amount of all those punches, the total amount between all those punches. And then for the multiplayer one in this one, it's gonna look something like this, where you one guest will go first, the guest two will go next, and then they will compare how much force they did under those 30 seconds or what amount they decided to have. So now for the punch challenge. The punch challenge, the idea behind the punch challenge is for you to put how what's the punch roll. This meaning how many punch you wanna do in this challenge, and then it's gonna show you the punch total punches, which is gonna be just a punch number. For example, if you got an index 10, meaning you punch the bag 10 times already, it's gonna be 10, and the total force is gonna be the total force between those 10 punches, and then this is gonna end once you
The
reach
total punches
exactly
reaches the
that.
punch goal.
Sorry, once you reach that punch goal, it's gonna exit. For right now, we have it as algorithm, so you just run numbers in there since we don't have the actual bag. And then for the punch count,
So going to the punch count, uh, you see this one is a little more specialized than the others. There is a threshold force, which is taken into account. So the force that is inflicted on the bat needs to be more than 10% above the threshold force. So for this 220 is that 10%. So if a number is 220 or greater, or is within 10% of 200, that will count as a valid punch. There would be a sound cue to show that that is a punch that was in the valid arena. And if it is not, so if it is less than 10% or lower, so 180 or lower in this case, then it would go to be an invalid punch. It will also show in the last hit label what was the amount of force in your last hit. So if a user was uh, giving a combo and then they look to the screen, they could see how much their last hit was. They can see their valid and invalid punches. So this is a very informative mode. So if we hit the start button, again, we can see the array going 150 is invalid because it's less than 180. 210 is within 10%. 250 is above 220. So those both would be in the valid punches, and you see that you can start and stop, you can keep going, there's no problem there. And if you want, you can reset and change the time settings to your fitting or whatever the threshold force would be. In the same manner, the multiplayer mode mimics that exact same thing. You would set however much time that you want, hit start, and then it would go up, counting your valid punches and invalid punches, giving the sound cues in the same manner. Guest two, once guest one is done, guest two would step up, and he would do the same thing in the same amount of time, and it would be a very beneficial way for two people to compete, but also learn at the same time, seeing how well their punches are doing. If they're doing punches that are way above the threshold force, and but you're only getting a couple of them, or if you're getting punches that are very close to the threshold force, but you're able to throw more punches up because you have a greater speed. So that's kind of like the leverage that you have there that they can work on.
I wanted to go back to the punch challenge since I
Yeah,
forgot
you didn't do
to
the you
this
didn't do the
multiplayer
single
one.
play.
Yeah. So this is how the multiplayer will look like. This punch will be the same for both guess one and guess two, and then it will be as simple as just clicking a star, and then we'll show you the total punches and the total force depending on how they hit the bag, how many times they hit the bag. And then at the end it's just gonna show you total force for both of them, and then they could compare the force and see who wins. And then at the end we have this sensor adjustment that we were trying to work on, but since we don't have an actual sensor working, the idea behind this sensor reading is to handicap guess one or guess two, meaning if you have an adult competing with a child, it will be a fair game, meaning the sensor would read 100% of the force for that child, but for the adult would read I don't know 30% less, 40% less, just to make it comparable. So I think we covered most all of the modes, and this was our presentation for our user guide. Thank you for watching.